Welcome to this tutorial on editing your first project in Final Cut Pro. So we are going to go over a little bit of file management and a little bit of editing. And I'm going to go into Final Cut Pro and first start by creating a new event. So if you already have this event folder and you haven't done the import yet from the last tutorial video, then great. I'm going to start one from scratch just to make sure we're good to go. So library, I can check that, and it is my library that's on my C drive. And then I have the date automatically created when you create a new event, and I'm just going to tack on its angled shots and say OK. So here's my angled shots folder, and there's nothing in it. There is a previous project open down below here. It was from the last tutorial, but I will want to create a project file as well. So file new project, or command N is the key command, and I'm going to name it the same thing. So now I have a project file and then a blank timeline, and now I want to import media to this project. So file import, or command I, so command I. That'll bring up my files, and I have a drive connected. It's an SD card connected in the back of the iMac, and I can single click each of these if I wanted to import them one at a time. I could hold command and click a few of them to kind of select some of them. Or I can click one and hold shift and select down consecutively in between. So 6 down to 1, or 1 up to 6. And that's the same selection method, using command to select independent files, or shift to select consecutive files, that you can do in the Finder or on the timeline, or basically anywhere in the operating system. Like even if you were using Microsoft Word, you'd be able to click at the front and then shift click to the end of a text, and then it would select everything consecutively in between. So those key commands are worthwhile knowing. Another one is command A selects all, and that'll select everything. So I do want to import the selected. If nothing is selected, I could just click import all. So Final Cut Pro gives you kind of like a smart, it knows that you want to import stuff, so if you don't select anything, it saves you the time of selecting everything. So we're going to select all this stuff and import all. I just want to go over some of this stuff over here. Add to existing event, we are putting it in angled shots. Or you could create a new event, and that would happen right here, and you can select which library you'd like to put it in and name it. Copy the library. You're going to want to do that. You need to get the files copied from the card to the external drive underneath your machine, the C drive. Transcoding, this is something that gets a little tweakier. Creating optimized media creates a larger file type. It's called ProRes 422, and it is a better, higher quality type of media. Especially when you're doing color correction and a lot of filters and effects, you might want to go to that format. We don't need to do it for this project. And creating proxy media, that creates a smaller file for faster editing, and we're not going to use that as either. Keywording, you could tag and do some of your keywording right here. We're not going to go over that in this video, but it is a really nice feature. Keywording in Final Cut Pro allows you to tag your files and search your files so that you can when you're doing larger edits, be able to kind of sort through your media faster. And then analyze for balancing color. There's another tutorial video, and I'd rather you do it than let Final Cut Pro do it. But there are some smart things that you can let Final Cut Pro do for audio. Analyzing and fixing audio problems, that's something that I want you guys to know how to do, so we'll figure that out later. And then separating and grouping stereo audio, that's probably a good thing, and removing silent channels, that's also a good thing. So we're going to leave those checked off. And close window after importing, that's fine, and then import all. So now we have our clips in our event. So in our event, we have a project file and then our clips. So I look at the project file, it's telling me this is 1920 by 1080/60. So that's probably going to change once I bring the first clip in. So I can do a number of things to get a clip to the timeline. I see some students struggle with this. You got to pay attention to the tooltip. See how it's a hand right now, and then it's an arrow over here. The arrow will select, the hand will kind of drag, and then if you come to the edges, you can set the in point and the out point trimming. It's also telling you the duration of how long you're setting it. So we wanted exactly 5-second duration, so you could pick your best 5 seconds. And it doesn't look like it's letting me do exactly 5 seconds. We can set the duration on the timeline to exactly 5 seconds, and that's probably the easiest way to go. You could select multiple clips by clicking and dragging. You could Command A, select all clips, and then click and drag them all. Note this one still has my in points and out points that I selected, so you might want to drag those out before you brought it to the timeline. Another way would be I and O keys. So if I hover scrub, I'm just scrubbing back and forth and not clicking. I can hit the I key and the O key, and then I'll set an in point and an out point. And I could drag this to the timeline like so. Another way to get this to the timeline and in and out point that's already been set is the Q, W, and E keys. So connect the selected clip to primary storyline, insert in the primary storyline, and then append the selected clip to the primary storyline. Append puts it at the very tail end. So if you look, there's like this white box that's coming in, and it's got an arrow pointing to the tail end of a gray box. So that's going to drop it on the end. This is going to drop it right wherever the time bar is, and it'll shift all the media left and right, and this will add it above, a layer above. So if I wanted to, I could Command A and select all this and get rid of my in and out points by dragging these out, Command A, and then E, append edit, and now they're all in the timeline in one key command rather than having to hunt around and drag and click and bring them to the timeline. Command Z is an undo. So now I got this to the timeline. We want these in order according to the shots. So I believe it was, let's see if I can bring up the shot sheet. So Command N, and we're going to Shawnee TV. Let me see if I got sites. Yeah, Google Sites. And actually, I want to go up one, and we want to be on the scavenger hunt. So for angled shots, up shot, worm's eye, down shot, bird's eye, can't. So up shot is going to be this one. So I'll drag that to the front. So I can drag these clips around, and it'll move clips. It's called magnetic timeline. And note that it's kind of like jumping to like specific in and out points. That's because snapping is turned on, and that's a good thing. If you turn snapping off, it's the N key, and we'll turn it on and off. If you turn snapping off, it'll kind of like slide and put things. Actually, I guess the magnetic timeline won't let me do that, but when you turn snapping off, things start to go a little haywire as to like where you're putting clips, and sometimes you have like little odd spaces and things don't line up correctly. Like here, it's not like really giving me the option to snap to a clip, whereas if it's turned on, this little yellow bar will pop up and let me know that it is in fact snapping to the timeline. So keep snapping turned on. Couple other things here: audio skimming, video skimming. So like when you scrub back and forth, that's a useful thing. And then this one here is audio skimming. So you can have that so that you're not hearing it when you're skimming over it. But that's also a useful thing at times. Sometimes people turn that off if you don't want to hear it when you're hovering over. And then let's do a bit of editing. So in order to get these to be exactly 5 seconds, I can control click them and look at the duration. So these are 7 seconds long. I want them to be 5. I could say 500 and enter, and that just appended my clip. So what's happening is it's changing the out point. So if you've already messed with the in point, it would then, if you had enough, be able to get it down to 5. If there isn't enough, like because I just changed the in point, you have to drag the in point back out. So change duration, or it's Control D will bring up that duration. So Control D, 5 seconds, and it did change it out to 5 seconds. So you can, I think, do these all at once as well. So if I click and drag, Control D, 5 seconds, and each of them has been set to duration. So that's actually pretty quick and easy. All right, so now we want to do our upshot. So here's our upshot. That's going to go first, and then our worm's eye, down shot, bird's eye, can't. Worm's eye is going to be this one, down shot, bird's eye, and then the canted shot is this one. So and this is a different bird's eye, so we're going to delete that one, and then can't. Okay, so we're all set here, and then the next thing I would do is go through the color correction. So I'll do one and then apply it to all, and I have a color correction video to show you how to do this. So Command 6, Command 7, we're looking a little yellow. I'm going to bring up our RGB parade, and you should set the white balance before you get started with shooting. That hallway tends to be a little bit yellow, so you know, you might need to cool it off a little bit, add a little bit of blue. And then if I go to my exposure, I can boost the exposure up a little. And I think I still need to touch color a little bit more. Right about there, looks good. And then I can maybe apply this to all of them. So if I Command C and click and drag and Command Shift V, that's called paste attributes. So Command V would just be paste all those, like that clip over and over again on the timeline. We're going to do a color correction only. That's Command Shift V, and that'll paste just the color correction to these 5 clips. And now we'll probably be pretty close with our color in all the different places. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Alright, so now I have 5-second clips that are all color corrected, and then I'm going to add some text. So if I go to the text layer, I'm going to use a basic lower third, and I'm going to click and drag it above, and now this adds it as a connected clip. So it's connected to this clip where that little line goes. If I move this clip around, it's now connected to it. So it's helpful because most of the time when you have video on top of another clip, you want it to be connected, because if you move it elsewhere in the timeline, all that stuff should probably be going with it. So Final Cut Pro added this feature in this version. So we have this basic lower third. I'm going to hover over it so I can see it. And I'm going to get rid of my Command 7, gets rid of my metering, and then note that there's like white on white with this highlight in the background. You may have to add a drop shadow. So if I go into the text and drop shadow, turn it on, it'll give this little drop shadow in the back, and it'll make it stand out a little bit. And then I'm gonna just go in, and it's really up to you if you want to do the abbreviation and then the actual name of the shot. That might be nice, or just the abbreviation is fine. So this is up shot. And then I'm going to go to the description, and I'm going to just delete that. And now it's just the upshot. And then I will bring up this little arrow, bring up your title safe zones, and I want it to be in the safe zone, the inside box. All text has to be on the inside of the inside box. This was more important for older television screens, but it is a nice proportional feature. You want to have it proportionally kind of more in the frame than too close to the edge of the frame. Similar to like headroom, you want to give it a little bit of space. So that's where I'm going to put my graphic, and then I can copy this. So Command C and Command V a bunch of times. Command V, Command V, Command V. Oh, that's cool. It puts it wherever my time bar or my arrow is. So I'm actually just going to drag these where they need to go, and we're going to just change each of them independently. So I can single click here. Now I don't have to delete my description each time. I can go in and make sure I'm selecting the one that I want to be working on, or things might go haywire. So we'll go there, and then if I go into the text, so upshot, we don't want this to say upshot anymore. We want it to say worm's eye. And this is going to be downshot. And then this is going to be bird's eye. And this is going to be undo. Command Z is undo. Just I must have hit a key that did that mistakenly. A for arrow, and then this is the, I guess there was 2 worm's eyes, so I can delete this worm's eye, and I also deleted the thing that I just labeled canted. Okay, and now that would pretty much be it. So if I hit home, I jump to the top of the timeline. Here's my upshot. Down arrows jump in and out. Worm's eye. Down shot. bird's eye, canted, and now I have them in time. Another couple things you might need to use, Command plus zooms in so that you can really see what's going on. You don't want to have any weird spaces like that. I turned snapping off and see how it allowed me to have a space, so like this clip would start and then this would pop in like a couple frames in. So N for snapping, turn that on and make sure it links. So you might want to zoom in to see things. Command plus zooms in, Command minus zooms out, or there's a Shift Z, and that's a global zoom, so you see the very first in and the very last out point on your timeline, and it kind of gives you like a global view of the whole thing. That's a couple little key commands there. A for arrow is the selection tool, so you can like click and move things, or if you hover over the edges of clips, you'd be able to trim them. Command Z, undo, undo. B for blade. B is the blade tool, so you'd be able to cut clips and then select things and drag them out if you needed to move them around. And undo. Command Z is undo. A for arrow, B for blade. Those are two useful commands. Another useful command is R for range. So these are all found under here. A for arrow, B for blade, range selection. I rarely use the zoom tool because I use key commands for that. I rarely use the hand tool. It's not necessary. And the position tool I rarely use as well. But the range tool I do use kind of often. You can select a range and then maybe do just audio for that range. So it adds these little keyframes so that just that area there got kind of bumps down. That's a quick way to do that. And that's pretty much the main tools that I would use. So up here, I/O, in point, out point, and then QWE, we get these down to the timeline. And then A for arrow, B for blade are kind of like timeline tools. And then control clicking for the durations, or control D was what we were doing for that, change duration, and then you can do that all at once. And then we added some lower thirds, and then at this point you may want to drag your audio down so you don't hear any audio in your clips. And then I think that's going to do it for this tutorial, and this is probably how we would export it, and I will go over exporting in a separate tutorial.